I never thought I'd be telling this story to strangers on the internet. But here I am at 3 in the morning with a glass of whiskey, still trying to process how my entire life fell apart in just 3 days. So buckle up because you're about to hear about the dinner that destroyed everything. Let me give you some background first. I'm James, 34 years old, and I built my construction business from absolutely nothing. Started with just me and a beat-up truck, and now I've got 5 crews running projects all across the county. It's not massive, but it pays the bills and then some. My wife, Alexandra, is 32. I supported her through law school, paid for everything: tuition, rent, books, you name it. While I was building my business from scratch, I was also funding her entire future. Her family never really approved of me though. They're upper middle class types who always thought their daughter could do better than some blue collar guy. Her dad, Elijah, is a financial advisor. Her mom, Pamela, sells real estate. Her brother Thomas thinks his business degree makes him some kind of genius. They always made little comments about my quote, unquote, little business, or asked when I'd go back to school. But Alexandra always defended me. Or so I thought. Last Saturday was our annual spring dinner tradition. Alexandra insisted on hosting her family to show off our home. I'd been up since 6 in the morning getting the smoker ready for this brisket I'd been dry aging all week. Everything had to be perfect for her precious family. But something felt really off about Alexandra the whole week before. Not the normal kind of off, like when she's stressed about work. This was different. She kept checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking, switching tabs whenever I walked behind her laptop, taking calls in another room. After 7 years together, you develop a sense for these things, you know? Everyone arrived around 4 that afternoon. Her parents, Thomas and his wife, her younger sister Magnolia, who's still in grad school. Alexandra's mom immediately started critiquing our living room furniture, while her dad asked pointed questions about how business was going. You could tell he was just waiting for me to admit failure. By 6, we were ready to eat. I'd set up the dining table with our good plates, the ones we got as wedding gifts and barely use. But then I realized we needed 2 more chairs from the garage, so I headed out through the side door to grab them. That's when I heard voices around the corner of the house. Thomas and Alexandra were standing by the azaleas, sharing a cigarette, which was weird since she supposedly quit 3 years ago. I was about to call out when I heard my name, so I froze. Thomas was saying how he still couldn't believe she married this loser, and that their dad was right. She needed to divorce me before having kids and getting stuck forever. But what Alexandra said next, man, it felt like taking a sledgehammer to the chest. She goes, "I'm already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half his business too." I just stood there completely numb as they laughed about how I had no idea what was coming. They kept talking about someone named Dominic being a much better fit for her, how she'd wasted her best years with me while I was playing construction. Have you ever had one of those moments where your entire reality just shifts? 7 years of marriage. All those nights I stayed up helping her study for exams. The vacations we skipped so she could afford law textbooks. The extra jobs I took to cover her student loans. All of it suddenly looked different. But I didn't yell, didn't confront them. Something inside me just went ice cold. I quietly backed away, grabbed 2 folding chairs from the garage, took 3 deep breaths, and put on the fakest smile of my life. Walking back inside, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. I looked perfectly normal. Inside, though, complete nuclear wasteland. The rest of that dinner was absolutely surreal. I poured wine, carved the brisket, laughed at her dad's terrible jokes, and watched my wife, this complete stranger across the table, act like everything was normal. I studied her face, trying to find the woman I married. Had she always looked at me with that barely concealed contempt? Or was I just seeing it now? When her mom complimented the food and asked for my secret recipe, I nearly lost it. 7 years of family dinners, and now she decides I might have something worth knowing. At one point, Thomas raised a toast to family and future changes, looking directly at Alexandra with this smug little smirk. I clinked glasses and drank, thinking about how satisfying it would be to break that crystal stem across his face. When they finally left around 11, Alexandra started cleaning up, humming to herself. Humming, like she hadn't just destroyed our entire life. I told her I'd finish the dishes and she should get some rest. She kissed my cheek and said I was such a good husband. The audacity nearly made me vomit. After she went to bed, I checked her laptop. 3rd try, I was in. The emails to her lawyer started 3 months ago. The plan was to file after securing partnership, using my income to help her status, then divorce me once she was locked in. There were spreadsheets documenting my business assets, our accounts, even a divorce timeline. Transfer records showed she'd been moving money to a separate account for months. $20,000 missing from our joint savings. My business expansion fund. Then I found texts with someone called D. Dominic, had been test driving my replacement for 6 months. I called in sick Monday, first time in 3 years, and met with a divorce attorney named Mike. He laid it out straight. She could get half my business value. Everything I'd built while supporting her through school, cut in half. That night, Alexandra brought me soup, acted all concerned. The performance was Oscar-worthy. She said she loved me while planning my financial execution. Here's the thing though, I've never been vindictive. But this wasn't business anymore. This was my life. Alexandra and her family always underestimated me. They saw calloused hands and no college degree, and assumed I was simple. They never understood that building something from nothing requires intelligence, strategy, and patience. I started making calls. Bank, business partner, key clients. By dinner time, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Alexandra wants a war. Well, she's bringing a butter knife to a chainsaw fight. This isn't about money anymore. It's about showing her family exactly who they decided to mess with. The loser they looked down on for 7 years is about to give them a masterclass in consequences. The morning after I found everything out, Alexandra left for work like any normal day. Kissed me goodbye, reminded me to call the plumber about that leaky faucet, asked if I could pick up her dry cleaning. The absolute normality of it was surreal, like watching someone sleepwalk through a minefield they planted themselves. As soon as her car pulled out, I got to work. First stop was an emergency meeting with my accountant at the coffee shop down the street. No way I was doing this over the phone where employees might overhear. Here's what I discovered. Alexandra had already contacted Frank, asking innocent questions about business valuation methods and ownership documentation. She claimed she was helping me prepare for a potential investor meeting. Frank didn't know what was really happening, but he felt uncomfortable enough to flag it. When I told him what was really going on, the color just drained from his face. James, he goes, I need to show you something. He pulled out his tablet showing me business transactions from the past 3 years. Alexandra had been doing more than just planning a divorce. She'd been creating a paper trail to make it look like I was mishandling business funds. Small discrepancies in dates, amounts moved between accounts at odd times, invoices with inconsistent numbering. Nothing illegal. She was too smart for that, but enough to make things look messy in divorce court. Enough to justify bringing in a forensic accountant who would cost me thousands and find absolutely nothing wrong, but would drag out proceedings for months. Frank and I spent 3 hours documenting everything properly, creating clear trails showing all transactions were legitimate. We accelerated payments to suppliers, paid off equipment loans early, and documented Alexandra's complete non-involvement in business operations. While we worked, I got a text from Magnolia, Alexandra's sister. Unusual, since we've always been friendly but rarely text directly. She asked if we could meet for coffee sometime soon, said she needed to talk about something important. I agreed to Saturday morning, wondering what that was about. Next stop was the bank. I'd been thinking about something Thomas had said at dinner, a comment about their parents helping her when the time comes. I had a hunch, and hunches in construction often save your butt. Turns out Alexandra had applied for a home equity line of credit against our house 2 weeks ago. Doggy. The house that's primarily in my name because I made the down payment with pre-marriage savings. The house I renovated myself, adding nearly $100,000 in value. I was still listed as a required signatory, but the paperwork was moving through the system. One more week, and she would have had access to about $200,000 in cash that I would be partially responsible for repaying. After showing my ID and marriage certificate, I was able to cancel the application. Then I moved half of our joint savings into my personal account, exactly the amount I had contributed. Is that petty? Maybe. But it's a hell of a lot less than she was planning to take. When I got home, I did something I'm not proud of, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I installed tiny recording devices in our living room and bedroom. Completely legal in our state since it's my house too, but definitely crosses an ethical line. I also set up a camera in our home office angled toward her desk. Then I took the dog for a walk around the neighborhood. Normal Tuesday stuff. Waved to neighbors, tossed a ball for the Jenkins kid, picked up dog poop with a little plastic bag, while casually planning the complete dismantling of my marriage. That night over dinner, Alexandra seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly. When I asked about her day, she gave vague answers. Then her phone buzzed again, and I caught a glimpse of a name. Dominic. Who's Dominic? I asked, keeping my voice casual while reaching for more pasta. The fork paused halfway to her mouth. Just for a second. Oh, new client at the firm. Time-sensitive case. Then she put her phone face down on the table. That slight hesitation told me everything. Must be important if he's texting during dinner, I said. Still Mr. Relaxed husband. She gave me this tight smile. You know how it is. Some people don't respect boundaries. The irony almost made me choke on my garlic bread. After dinner, she said she needed to finish some work and disappeared into the home office. I cleaned the kitchen, making enough noise so she'd think I was busy, then silently moved to the hallway near the office door, which she'd left slightly open. I could hear her voice, low and intimate. Not her client voice. Not her talking to family voice. Her bedroom voice. Can't just call whenever you want. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Just be patient. Yes, I miss you too. Each word was another nail in the coffin of whatever feelings I still had for her. The rage I'd been holding down threatened to boil over. I wanted to burst through that door, to confront her, to end this whole charade right now. But that would have ruined everything. So I walked away, back to the kitchen, turned on the faucet, pretended to wash more dishes while planning my next moves. Here's the thing about building. Timing matters. Pour concrete too soon after rain, it won't set right. Rush the framing. The whole structure gets compromised. This revenge needed time to cure properly. Wednesday morning, I accidentally left divorce papers visible on my nightstand. Not filled out, just the standard forms from the county website. When I came back from my shower, they were slightly moved. She'd looked at them, but said nothing. Neither did I. At work, I quietly began preparation. Called in favors from clients who owed me, not for money, for information. Turns out Dominic wasn't just some random guy. He was a close friend of Thomas, Alexandra's brother. They'd gone to college together. He came from the same kind of money as her family. The kind of guy her parents had always wanted for her. And here's where it gets interesting. Dominic had been at several family events I'd skipped over the years because I was working. Birthday parties, a ski trip, even a cruise I couldn't go on because I was finishing a big project. The project that actually established my business. Through a mutual acquaintance, I learned Dominic and Alexandra had dated briefly in college before we met. The pieces were falling into place. This wasn't just an affair. This was a long game. While digging into all this, I also created a detailed spreadsheet documenting every penny I'd spent supporting Alexandra through school. Tuition, books, rent, the laptop I bought her for graduation, the bar exam prep course, the interview suits, the countless Ubers home from late-night study sessions because I didn't want her on public transit after dark. Grand total, $143,600. Not including interest I could have earned if I'd invested that money in my business instead. That night, Alexandra initiated intimacy for the first time in months. I almost laughed at the timing. Was this part of her plan too? Keep me distracted and satisfied while she arranged my financial execution? I went along with it, performing as expected, feeling nothing but detachment as she play-acted passion. Afterward, while she slept, I sat in the dark staring at the ceiling fan, counting rotations instead of sheep. One thought kept circling. How long had our marriage been a lie? Was it always transactional for her? Was I just a stepping stone? Thursday morning brought my coffee meetup with Magnolia. I arrived early, checking Reddit on my phone while I waited. The support from internet strangers was still flowing in. Some suggested extreme measures I'd never consider. Others shared similar stories that made mine seem tame by comparison. The solidarity helped somehow. Magnolia arrived looking nervous. She ordered some complicated coffee drink and picked at a muffin while making small talk. Finally, she took a deep breath. What she told me next confirmed everything. Magnolia had known about Alexandra and Dominic for months. She'd caught them together at their parents' lake house during that family weekend I'd missed because of a water damage emergency at a job site. She'd confronted Alexandra, who swore it was a one-time mistake. But it wasn't. Alexandra had confided in Magnolia after a recent family dinner I'd also missed, told her the whole plan. Stay with me until making partner, then upgrade to Dominic, with half my assets as her golden parachute. Magnolia was telling me this because she couldn't stomach it anymore. Said she'd always liked me, thought I was good for her sister, couldn't understand why her family never gave me a fair chance. I thanked her for her honesty, careful not to reveal I already knew most of this. Asked her to keep our conversation between us. She agreed, seeming relieved to unburden herself. As she left, she hugged me and whispered that she was sorry. It was the first genuine human connection I'd felt in days. Thursday night, I set the next phase in motion. Created a fake business emergency, called Alexandra saying I needed all hands on deck for a crisis meeting the next night. Major client threatening to pull out, potential financial disaster, needed her support and her family's advice. She hesitated, said she had plans. I pushed harder, let my voice crack a little, said I was scared of losing everything we'd built, played it on her guilt. She gave in, agreed to host an emergency family dinner Friday night, said she'd call her parents and Thomas. Perfect. Friday morning, I put the final touches on my preparations, set up the dining room with printouts hidden in a folder by my seat, loaded all the evidence onto a tablet. Screenshots, recordings, financial records, everything. Picked up her favorite dessert from that bakery across town she loves so much. At work, I made sure everything was in order. Had a frank conversation with my business partner, who was understandably shocked but fully supportive. We'd been friends since high school. He knew what Alexandra's schooling had cost me in more ways than one. When I got home, Alexandra was already there, setting the table with our good plates again. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. Another family dinner, same stage, entirely different play about to unfold. She seemed jittery, checking her phone constantly. When I asked if everyone was confirmed for dinner, she nodded distractedly. Said her parents were bringing wine, Thomas and his wife would be there too. I suggested inviting Magnolia as well. Alexandra looked surprised, but agreed, texting her sister while I watched. The gang would all be there. Perfect. Deal. As I headed upstairs to shower and change, Alexandra called after me, asking what the client issue was specifically, so she could prepare her thoughts. I told her I'd explain everything during dinner. Wanted to go through it just once, with everyone present. Under the shower spray, I rehearsed what I would say, how I would present the evidence, the order of revelations for maximum impact. It felt surreal, like planning a presentation for the most important client meeting ever. I got dressed in the clothes Alexandra had always said made me look most professional. Dark jeans, blue button-down, leather shoes instead of work boots. The costume for my final performance as her doting husband. Downstairs, I could hear her on the phone in hushed tones. Thanks to the recorder in the living room, I'd be able to review that conversation later if needed. But I already knew who she was talking to, already knew what she was saying. Let her have this last moment of thinking she's in control. Let her reassure Dominic that everything's going according to plan. Let her believe for these final hours that she's the smartest person in the room. The doorbell rang. Alexandra jumped, quickly ending her call. Her parents arrived first, her father bringing an expensive bottle of wine as promised. He shook my hand with that same condescending grip, already asking about this business emergency with barely concealed satisfaction in his voice. Thomas and his wife arrived next, followed shortly by Magnolia, who couldn't quite meet my eyes. The gang was all here, all the players in position. I sat at the head of the table, evidence folder beside my plate. Alexandra sat to my right, her father to my left. Perfect symmetry with the dinner where I discovered her betrayal, but now I held the secrets. I stood up, wine glass in hand. Before we get to the business emergency, I said, I'd like to propose a toast. To family, to loyalty, and to finally seeing things clearly. Their confused faces were just the beginning. I sat down, took a sip of Elijah's expensive wine, and connected my tablet to our TV. About this business emergency, I said. I've discovered serious problems threatening everything I've built. Problems developing right under my nose. Elijah leaned forward smugly. Financial issues? I always said your business model seemed precarious. Actually, I said, the problem isn't with my business. It's with my marriage. The room went silent. Alexandra's hand froze on mine. Then I played the recording of Alexandra and Thomas from the previous dinner. Their voices filled the room. Thomas saying she needed to divorce me before having kids. Alexandra replying she was already working on it and could take half my business. I watched each face. Thomas went pale. Alexandra's mother gasped. Elijah's jaw clenched. Magnolia closed her eyes. Next, screenshots of her texts with Dominic. 6 months, I said quietly. 6 months, while I worked 60-hour weeks. Then, my spreadsheet. $143,600. What I invested in our future while building my business from nothing. Next, her secret bank account and the canceled home equity line. And this is how she planned to thank me. Elijah stood up, knocking his chair backward. This is ridiculous. We're leaving. Alexandra grabbed my arm. James, please, I can explain. Thomas tried deleting messages under the table. I pointed at him. Those messages? I already have them all. Thomas froze. His wife stared at him with dawning horror. Growing apart? I said to Alexandra. While I paid for your education, built our future? That's when I dropped the final bomb. Did Alexandra tell you Dominic is married too? His wife Rachel was very understanding when I showed her the texts. Alexandra's face drained of color. You, what? We had coffee yesterday. Seemed only fair. Elijah lost it. Grabbed my handmade dining table and flipped it. Food, wine, plates, everything crashed down. He lunged at me, actually tried to throw a punch. Thomas held him back while he spewed threats. You think you've won? Elijah yelled. You're nothing. My daughter made a mistake slumming with you. I stood slowly. I may work with my hands, Elijah, but I built something real. What have you built besides a family of liars? I opened the front door. I think you should all leave now. Magnolia paused on her way out. I'm sorry, she said quietly. You deserved better. Then it was just Alexandra and me in our destroyed dining room. You planned all this, she whispered. I learned from the best, I replied, grabbing my pre-packed bag. As I walked out, she called after me. You'll regret this. My father wasn't bluffing about lawyers. Some foundations are too damaged to rebuild on. That night at the hotel, I slept better than I had in months. The next day, I went back while Alexandra was at work. Packed what mattered. Clothes, tools, family photos, my dog stuff. Left my key on the counter. I'd already rented a small apartment near my workshop. Not hiding, just creating space. For 2 days, I stayed off social media, ignored emails, focused on setting up my new place. The dog adjusted quickly. Animals know when something's wrong in a house. On the third morning, I finally turned my phone back on. It immediately started buzzing. 47 WhatsApp messages from Alexandra, ranging from furious to pleading. The first ones were all caps rage. How dare you embarrass me like that, and you've ruined everything. Then they shifted. James, please call me. We need to talk, and I know I made a mistake, but we can work through this. By message 30, she was bargaining. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off my family. Just please talk to me. Message 45 was simple. I'm sorry. The final 2 came at 3:14 in the morning. I told Dominic everything. About the money, about the divorce plans. He says we should still be together. He just called to break things off. Said he's trying to save his marriage with Rachel. I have nobody now. I read through them without responding, feeling nothing but tired. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Just emptiness, like finishing a tough job and realizing the client will never appreciate the work. As I scrolled, another message popped up. James, I know you've read these. Please just tell me what you want. Money. The house? I'll sign whatever you want. After everything, she still didn't get it. This was never about money. It was about betrayal. Years wasted. Trust stolen. Dundee. I finally responded. I've already sent the divorce papers to your office. All I want is for this to be over quickly. Her reply came instantly. Can we meet? Please. Just one talk? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Mike, my lawyer. Rachel, Dominic's wife, had reached out to him after I'd shown her the evidence. She'd done her own digging and discovered Dominic had pulled similar schemes with other women. She wanted to compare notes for our divorce proceedings. As Mike talked, I looked around my sparse apartment. A mattress on the floor, boxes unpacked, the dog watching me with patient eyes. This wasn't how I'd imagined my life at 34, starting over again. But sometimes you have to tear everything down to fix a compromised foundation. I agreed to meet Rachel for coffee. Not romantically, but because there's solidarity in shared betrayal. After hanging up, I sent Alexandra one final message. There's nothing to talk about. The marriage is over. Please direct all future communication through our lawyers. Then, I blocked her number. That afternoon, I took the dog hiking. My phone buzzed with a text from Magnolia. Heard you moved out. Alexandra is staying with our parents. Dad's on the warpath, but Mom's finally asking questions about what really happened. Think his perfect daughter facade is cracking. I replied, thanks for letting me know. Hope you're okay in all this. Her response, I am. Better than okay, actually. Finally told them I'm dropping out of the program they chose for me to pursue what I actually want. Guess your courage was contagious. As the sun set, I watched my dog explore, tail wagging without a care. 7 years gone. Why? Countless hours of work. A future planned and destroyed. But also, freedom. Truth. Done. A chance to rebuild something authentic. My phone buzzed. Rachel, confirming our coffee meetup, with a link to a support group for people dealing with divorces involving financial deception. Apparently it's more common than I realized. I pocketed my phone and called the dog. Time to head back, make dinner, maybe unpack a box or two. Small steps. One day at a time. Like any good building project, the foundation comes first. And this time, I'm making sure it's solid. So there it is, internet. The story I never thought I'd tell. I know what some of you are thinking. That I went nuclear, that I could have handled it differently, that maybe we could have worked things out. But here's what 34 years taught me. Some betrayals are too deep to bridge. Some foundations are too cracked to build on. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who see you as nothing more than a bank account with a heartbeat. The divorce is moving forward. Alexandra's family hired some high-powered attorney who tried to intimidate me with legal threats. But Mike had everything documented perfect. Turns out when you have recordings, bank records, and a cheating spouse's own text messages, their resources don't mean much. Rachel and I did meet for coffee. Not romantically. We're both too emotionally exhausted for that. But there's something powerful about sitting across from someone who understands exactly what you've been through. She's divorcing Dominic too, and apparently he'd been running this same playbook on multiple women over the years. We're sharing legal costs and evidence. Strength in numbers. The support group she mentioned has been surprisingly helpful. Turns out financial betrayal in marriage is more common than I ever imagined. There's a whole community of people who've been through similar situations. Spouses hiding assets, planning secret divorces, using their partners as stepping stones, while already planning their exit strategy. My business is doing better than ever, actually. Word got around about what happened. Small town, people talk, and I've had several clients reach out specifically because they respect how I handled things. Apparently there's value in being known as someone who doesn't roll over when people try to screw you. Magnolia dropped out of her parents' approved program and enrolled in art school. She sends me updates sometimes. Her work is actually incredible. Funny how being authentic can unlock talents you never knew you had. Her parents disowned her temporarily, but she seems happier than I've ever seen her. As for Alexandra, well, I hear things. Small town, remember? She didn't make partner at her firm. Turns out the scandal affected her standing there. Last I heard, she was working at a smaller practice for significantly less money. Dominic never left his wife, obviously. She's living in a studio apartment across town, driving the same beat-up Honda she had in law school, because she can't afford the BMW payments anymore. I don't take pleasure in her misfortune. Honestly, I feel nothing at all when I hear these updates. It's like hearing news about a stranger. 7 years of marriage, and now she's just no one to me. That might be the saddest part of all. But here's the thing about starting over at 34. You know yourself better this time. You know what you want, what you won't tolerate, what actually matters. I'm not in a rush to find someone new. I'm focused on building something solid, something real, something that can't be taken away by people who never appreciated it in the first place. The apartment is coming together nicely. I bought a real bed frame last week. First new furniture I've purchased in years that wasn't approved by committee. The dog loves having a yard again when we visit job sites. I've been taking evening classes in business management, not because I need them, but because I want them. Learning for the joy of learning, not to prove anything to anyone. To anyone listening who's going through something similar, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe the best in people. And remember, the people who truly love you won't make you feel like you need to earn their affection by sacrificing everything you've built. Alexandra once told me during an argument that I was too simple to understand her family's world. She was wrong about a lot of things, but she got that part right. I am simple. I believe in honest work, keeping your word, and treating people with respect. I believe in building things that last and standing by the people who stand by you. Apparently, that's not sophisticated enough for some people, but I'd rather be simple and authentic than complex and fake. The foundation of my new life is solid. I made sure of it this time. A few people asked what happened to the house. We're selling it, splitting the proceeds 50-50. It's just a house. I can build another one. What I can't rebuild is trust, and what I won't rebuild is a relationship with someone who saw me as an obstacle to overcome rather than a partner to cherish. Also, for those wondering about the recording devices, yes, I removed them before moving out. And yes, everything I did was legal in my state. I checked with 3 different lawyers to make sure. When you're going to war, you better know the rules of engagement. The dinner where I exposed everything was 3 months ago now. Sometimes I still can't believe it really happened. But I have 47 desperate text messages to remind me it did. Thanks for listening. Sometimes you need to tell your story to strangers who understand that not all endings are happy, but some of them are necessary. Final update. I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. Some foundations need to be torn down completely before you can build something that will actually last. The loser is doing just fine.